Garcia, and I'd like to welcome you to NumismaTalks every second and fourth Thursday of the month at noon Mountain. We'll be here with a new presentation. During this presentation, you may come up with questions, and if you do, please use the Q&A button on your screen. Send in your questions, and your questions will be addressed at the end of the presentation. Now I'd like to introduce you to today's presenter, Akio Lis. Akio joined the ANA as a library manager in 2021. He was awarded the ANA YN of the Year in 1998 and received an internship with the ANA Library in 2003. After moving to Colorado Springs in 2005, Akio volunteered with the Dwight N. Manley Library and worked with the YNs during summer seminar in the production of the YN fundraising auctions. Akio brings to the role of library manager a deep interest in history and research, as well as in adept knowledge of the ANA library holdings. He has worked to increase accessibility and recognition of the holdings of the Dwight N. Manley Library and continue in the long tradition of growth to this necessary numismatic asset. Akio will be presenting the ANA Dwight N. Manley Library Access for a Changing Research Landscape. It's all yours, Akio.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. So this program will be an introduction in part to ANA Library, its materials and services, and we'll also cover some of the new programs and projects that we're involved in. The American Numismatic Association Basic History was founded in 1891 to promote the collection and study of numismatic objects, including coins, paper money, tokens, medals. These are the objects that a lot of the library materials cover. Was founded in part by George Heath, who is a Michigan doctor and the publisher of the Numismatist. The ANA Library was formed at the time of the founding of the organization in 1891. And the main purpose was to provide books that were sometimes hard to find or older, research documents to its members, as well as auction catalogs and back issues of periodicals. The services were provided by mail, as our services are primarily provided now to our members. At the time, the librarian was an elected position and voluntary, and also acted as a member of the ANA board. Since the opening of the headquarters in Colorado Springs in 1967, the position became a professional position in the 1970s. Geneva Carlson was our first professional librarian who created the organization for the books, the call number system. It was based off of the Dewey Decimal catalog system idea, but if the Dewey Decimal system is this big, most of our materials would fit here. So it was to allow for easier browsing with numismatic content and thought in mind. The library, as you see here, picture from our headquarters, has also expanded to include videos, first VHS, now DVD, and also archives. The library is named after Dwight N. Manley, a numismatist, researcher, and entrepreneur who has donated many materials to the organization, to the library, including rare books such as Andreas Fulvius' Illustrium Imagines, which was the first illustrated numismatic book, as well as Thomas Jefferson's report of the Secretary of State on the subject of establishing a uniformity in the weights, measures, and coins of the United States. This document describes the decimal system that was adopted by the United States in the late 1700s. Our primary area as far as the holdings and what we provide to members are our books. Circulation services are provided mostly by mail. We do have several members who are local that will check out materials, but a lot are shipped. Members are responsible for shipping and insurance to and from the ANA headquarters, and there is an 8-week checkout period, and materials may be renewed if another member has not requested. Also, most of our auction catalogs and our DVDs are available for checkout. We'll talk a little bit more about this later in the presentation. Um, a focus is to keep the current standard uh, references updated. This includes general references like the Red Book, the Blue Book, the Friedberg Paper Money Catalog, and many international catalogs that are materials by country or by region. Um, would like to thank Whitman CDN for providing updates to many of their publications. You see here Red Book and Blue Book, as this helps to expand our holdings through the ability to use our budget more efficiently. In the absence of the Krause catalog, the standard catalog of paper money and world coins, we have started to update strongly the uh, individual country books, Haxby and Charlton Canadian coin books, the Gaudry Monnaie Française, and also the Spink English coin books, as well as the Lectern Euro catalogs as they are published. This is something that we're working to update, and we will let you know when new editions are available in our collection. We also have many historic catalogs and specialized catalogs. This covers materials like ancient coins, medieval coins, variety of paper money, tokens, metals, and come from different sources, individual donors, as well as some national numismatic libraries like the Orders and Medals Society of America, the International Banknote Society, and also Numismatics International. We also have many new books, often donated by authors and publishers. You see some samples here that cover information either newly researched or updated, and some information that is very specialized. You see here Siam specimen banknotes, also books by Roberto Delzano on Swedish coins, and updated catalogs on tokens and paper money from individual states in the United States. This allows us to present more specialized information, which may be inaccessible to individual members, either due to the small number of copies printed of the particular guide or the expense of that guide. Auction catalogs are another great resource. While books have expanded as far as the variety of information provided and the specialized information, thinking to the Bauer series of Red books with a catalog on individual United States series, there are still some series that cannot be cataloged completely or comprehensively due to the variety of materials and the rarity, particularly ancient coins, medieval coins, and also early modern, so Renaissance period through about the 1600s. And sometimes auction catalogs are the only good resource to see this variety of information and individual examples in ways that a book could not show all of the individual examples. Auction catalogs are also great for helping to track the monetary value of items over time. This includes individual sales, rare or uncommon items. That sometimes it's rare items. They may not be the multi-million dollar items, but it's items that you just never see. Again, can see the change in value over time, but also the change in interest in the numismatic market. Currently, American Federal issue coins are at a good peak as far as interest and value, but at the turn of the 19th to 20th century, you would see a lot more listings in auction catalogs for exonumia, tokens, metals, privately minted gold material from, say, South Carolina, Georgia in the United States, Colorado, California. Um, and the pricing would reflect that. So it's interesting to see the listings, also how detailed the listings were in the older catalogs as a reflection of the numismatic market. As I mentioned before, there are some items that books, no matter how well researched, cannot show a full comprehensive listing. So seeing individual pieces can help to identify and also identify at different points in the production of a coin if it's something relatively recent. There are many researchers who keep track of materials, the numbers for survival rates, looking to early American census as an example. There are some years that hundreds of thousands to millions were produced as stated in mint records, but only a few thousand remain, and auctions, either through catalogs or through online auctions, help researchers and authors to determine the approximate numbers remaining. With some of the great rarities, knowing who owned the rarity, if that's available, and tracking the interest in that particular item over time, helps collectors to know that one, the item that they own is legitimate, that it is not a counterfeit, but also know the history, not just the item, but the people connected to the item. Looking at a couple of examples of auction catalogs, if you haven't used an auction catalog for research recently, this is from an ANA sale, and we see information about the basic description of the item, also a detailed description. As far as provenance, we see who has owned it in the past by name, as well as some past auction listings. This allows one to go back through earlier catalogs and check who may have owned it, what information is presented. Sometimes the auction catalogs cannot give a full listing for information because of space. So going back through earlier catalogs allows one to track information and the item. This is an example from a Great Collections online sale. Great Collections being the official auctioneer of the American Numismatic Association. This gives additional ideas of what information is available on an online record. Have the additional bidder status, some auction house information, also detailed descriptions of the item similar to what you saw in the print. While the ANA Library does focus on the printed material, we will help to refer to online resources as we are aware and as they are available. Really, it's to help researchers and collectors discover more about the items that they own. Just a note, when looking at auction houses, if you're looking to sell, we do recommend contacting multiple to find out auction resources and what the specialties are before selling an item. Periodicals. As with the auction catalogs, there may be information in periodicals that is not available in a book. An individual item or a set of items, say a series of tokens. You may have a very basic listing of this is the denomination, this is the suspected number produced, and here's the image of it, or a description of the text. But periodical articles can go into greater depth about the history, the people involved in the production. So these are great resources for depth of information. Also allows one to track information over time if one is looking at trends. But it's something, especially the specialized um, periodicals. We see a variety on this page, paper money, tokens, metals, tokens from Alaska. We receive the Alaska Token Collector newsletter monthly. Also periodicals about materials designed by particular artists or engravers, and in-depth coverage of that material, both market and historical. So periodicals have different sorts of depth, and we can help with discovering what periodicals will be best for your research project. Um, Looking at an example with the numismatist, over time, being aware that periodical subjects will change. And again, we can help with providing the information and finding. The earliest numismatist focused on very basic how to collect and who was collecting. Also trying to make contacts between the couple of dozen members that were part of the ANA at the time. Going into the early 20th century, we saw more in-depth articles and also catalogs of materials, thinking to the King Lincoln set or the Lincoln Lincoln in Numismatics by King, which was a catalog of metals that depicted Lincoln in different states of reference. Um, the numismatist also had a lot of information about organizations and individuals that were involved in the hobby reports, and the detailed listing of new members, including addresses. One can look up members, some that are still alive, that joined even into the 60s and 70s, and find out when they joined. Now going into the 50s, 60s, 70s, there were more publications that were general numismatic, including the numismatic scrapbook and the newspaper style numismatic news and coin world. So the ANA, the numismatist, shifted a bit to ANA focused current events and particular aspects of, because the newspapers especially could bring out the information more rapidly. This carries through and Neil Harris and Barbara Gregory's period as editors. During Barbara Gregory's period, we see a change to the new magazine format, or the current magazine format, again, focused on researched articles and columns. ANA information, maybe less so on current events, because publication timeframes a couple of months ahead of the actual issuing of the periodical. Just to mention a new reference, the reading room is now available. This was developed under the current editor, Caleb Knoll. That gives shorter articles, but also a lot of up-to-date, current events information. so filling in some of the gaps that the numismatist could not do because of time delays between the creation of the magazine and its publication. Speaking of finding information, the Bass Numismatic Indexes, which is a search engine. It's an older search engine, but still relevant. It covers many periodicals through the late 1990s, early 2000s, has information by subject, author, and title, and can be searched. It does not have the full articles, but if you find something that you're interested in knowing more about, can contact the library staff and we can confirm that the information that you're looking for is there, or just give a basic description of what information is presented in the article. A brief note with auction catalogs and periodicals, while we are constantly updating what we have and constantly adding materials to our catalog, not all periodicals and auction catalogs are in the EOS catalog, the library catalog. If there's an article that you're looking for or an auction catalog and you don't see it in the listing, please contact the library staff. We'll have the information at the end of this presentation, and we can let you know if we have the information, the materials, and how to obtain copies of. The last main circulating material in the library, DVD videos. These are largely presentations from past ANA conventions. They often are, say, reports about materials, but can include new research and information about new discoveries. I watched a video on the North American metal of the 1930s that the presenter showed a new discovery as part of that program. These are also excellent ways to introduce members to what the ANA can provide, members of your local club, and also numismatic experts, as the videos are, the presenters are often experts in a particular field, the field that is presented, and it's a way of having them in the room with your members, even if they can't really be present. We also have information here about the NumismaTalks and the YouTube channel. This video will be present on our YouTube channel in the future, along with on the NumismaTalks page, and can be accessed from that website. One of the exciting areas that we're beginning to explore, catalog, and present to ANA members and researchers are our archives. The library collection of archives are the historic collection, so say correspondence between significant numismatists, manuscripts, research papers, materials published, and also ephemera, published materials by the ANA for the conventions. These are not the financial or governing documents. That's in a different department. But information of a historic nature, we can see what is available and provide the information and sometimes scans. The type of information that is available, and these are things that are unique to our holdings, so we're working to present over time. The first-hand accounts, and this includes correspondence between significant numismatists, and some of their writings that may not be correspondence but show their opinions and their interests. This also will show changes in how the industry, the numismatic industry, is working over time, what sort of materials are being documented and researched, and how that research project goes about. We received some many documents from Rusty Go, who is an expert in Carson City material, and also David Lang, who did research in many topics, particularly the coin boards and coin folders, the binders. Um, some of this material, it will be a while before we have it fully documented, but it is something that we're working to collect and present. We also have records and reports from the United States government. This includes Treasury reports, Mint reports. We also have some documents, and one of the files that we may talk about later, depending on time, it's about the creation of the small size dollar and includes the testimonies from different groups and different individuals at the hearings where it was decided that a small size dollar coin would be pursued. This became the Susan B. Anthony dollar, and more recently, the Native American and the presidential dollar series. As we know, with coins and paper money, a lot of emphasis is placed on the artwork, and we have materials connected to engravers, to the artists who created the designs. Frank Gasparo is one. Also, Adam Peets from the turn of 20th into the early 20 or turn of the 19th into the early 20th century are included in our records. Mentioned the unpublished manuscripts and research documents. The important thing with manuscripts is you can see what information was originally intended to be published. Sometimes it's information that was deemed either unnecessary or was actually obsolete by the time the book was published. Other times it was removed due to space. So knowing what was intended can give more insight into what remains, and also show the process, the research process and the methodology that the author followed. Here is a photo from one of our archive rooms. A lot of the documents here, it's the ANA history and also ANA convention. In the upper left-hand corner, you see the Gasparo papers, which includes artwork, correspondence, newspaper clippings. It was his collection of items donated by his family after his death. Here, so the ANA's library goals, as mentioned earlier with the books, is to provide a large variety of information. We try to present as much different information as we can and is available to cover different collector interests and different research interests. We're also working to present the information more readily to researchers. We'll talk about our digitizing program in a moment. And obtaining a greater variety of information to allow us to present that information. This is so the information in our archives, ANA history and activities first. So the conventions, historical documents like documents related to the purchase of the numismatist by the ANA in the 1910s. These are important documents to understand how the ANA came to be. We also look for information that is about individuals that were important to the hobby, dealers, collectors, researchers, but also other organizations, state, local, some national specialty organizations. This will help those who are currently running organizations understand maybe how an organization ran, how to run an organization, also if an organization folded, maybe why, and either ways to avoid it or ways to do it successfully. Manuscripts and pre-published research. We do have a manuscript section, and if you would like to browse, let us know. Can give you basic call numbers to view. It includes many now published documents, but also some interesting unpublished that just show interests of variety of collectors and researchers. Most of the items are centered on numismatics in the United States. There are a few new worlds, so Central South America, Mexico, and Canada. But the focus being American Numismatic Association is the United States and documents connected to. While most of the documents are from late 1800s through the late 1900s through the 20th century, we are increasing materials available from early 21st century as researchers who would like the information to be available pass their materials to us for presentation to members and researchers. A very exciting program that we're starting to provide to members and researchers is the digitizing of our archives. This will allow researchers who cannot visit the ANA in Colorado Springs, or who would have very limited time if they were to visit, to view items remotely and have full access to the materials that we provide. This is something long-term, so we're in starting stages with a few archives that have been digitized and presented online. The items are cataloged in the library catalog. There is an archive video available on our YouTube channel that describes how to locate the archive so you can browse them. And on the catalog listing, if there is not a restriction, either copyright, privacy, or otherwise, we post the archive on Internet Archive, archive.org, and you can view and download the material there. The first projects that we worked on were ones that were connected to time-related events. The centennial of the National Coin Week, which happened earlier this year, 100th anniversary. Vast majority of what was in that archive is now available on Internet Archive and has been cataloged in our system. When you're donating, and this will go over again later, donating archives, if you can organize them well, it helps us to more efficiently catalog and scan and present, especially the cataloging part, because we don't have to organize. We can present the material as you intended and describe as is presented to us. ANA related materials we will be scanning and presenting over time. Some due to page count may be tougher, but there's a lot of ephemera, invitations, menus, and whatnot that it's just interesting to see what happened at some of the early conventions. Smaller archives were able to fit into the scanning process fairly easily, so these we add on occasion and will also be listed in the catalog. This is a sample of some of the completed projects. The Gasparro papers was one of the first, and that was assisted by Newman Numismatic Portal to take the produce the images and then post to Internet Archive. They are now also cataloged on our library catalog with links to Internet Archive. Uh, the small size dollar reports and testimonies gives an idea of why different special interest groups wanted a small size dollar or didn't, but also why they wanted particular images to be on the coin. Looking to the Susan B. Anthony dollar as the first small size dollar. But there's also discussion from manufacturers of vending machines as to why may not have been the greatest idea for them. The Franklin Hoard archive, this was from Vladimir Klein Stefanelli, and has correspondence, but also documents that are connected to authentication of items that were in this hoard. Images from Smithsonian, a lot of materials that give a depth of firsthand accounts to the materials there. There are books, John J. Ford and the Franklin Hoard as one, that gives the history of this collection. The list below are some of the projects that are in process. The CCC, Civilian Conservation Corps, or Agner Vollberg documents. Agner Vollberg was a researcher in exonumia, so there is some additional information about circus tokens and prison tokens. This was one of our first digitizing projects that primarily the volunteers helped with digitizing, and we're now working to catalog and post that to Internet Archive. National Coin Week, of course, and the ANA archives as we go through that. American Banknote Company is an exciting archive that has documents related to the production, payment, shipment, the promotion of that company by its representatives in various countries. These are all the international documents. There are some images connected to what appeared on the banknotes, not sample banknotes themselves, although there are some samples of the paper used, but photographs of the people that were presented on the paper money. So it's very interesting to see what were the representatives trying to get as far as production. They also produced stamps and stock certificates and some bank checks. So a variety of materials. Also finding some documents where communicating with different or either different governments within the same country or different sides of the same government to try to sell to as many people as possible. So it's interesting from a how did the material get produced? Who were they in communication with? A lot of history beyond the what is the banknote and who is on it. So donating to the ANA Library, because of the variety of materials that we have and the limited space. We have many hundreds of square feet, but also many hundreds of square feet of books and periodicals and auction catalogs. First thing to do is contact the ANA staff. We can tell you then if it's something that we're interested in accepting. Really, all books we will accept, personal libraries, organization libraries, and company libraries. Materials that are not added directly to our holdings are sold on eBay through the museum monthly sales or at the summer seminar book sale. And this funding helps to, it provides funding for purchase of books and also purchase of supplies to store and protect the materials that we have. New books we are always interested in, and sometimes we just either don't know that it's available, or we aren't able to obtain copies due to the limited production run or due to budgetary concerns. So if you're an author or publisher and would like the book to be made available in the library, please contact us. The information stating that you donated the book will be listed in the copy level of that item so that you will be recognized. And it helps just in our presentation of the books, and it makes our members and researchers aware of what books you are publishing and what information you are presenting. They may end up buying a copy after they see it here. On the other hand, for auction catalogs and periodicals, due to space, we aren't able to accept all. If you have a collection of auction catalogs or periodicals, please let us know company in the case of auction catalogs, or the title or organization in the case of periodicals, and for both the range of dates. And we can let you know if we need materials from your collection. If we cannot accept that portion of donation, we will help to find someone in your area. Often there are local clubs that may have YN programs, or their members may be interested in the information that your periodicals provide. And we will help to provide contact information so that you may check with that local club. For archives, this we're working to develop what we will intake and what we will hold. Anything ANA history, we will accept pretty much. Again, double check with us to make sure that it is something that we need. Also something that covers the information that we are trying to hold and present. There are times that while we would like to accept your archives, they may cover either too general of a topic, and there may be a better resource for the presentation of your information than the ANA Library. If that's the case, we may recommend, say, a state or local historical society to contact, where your materials will be equally appreciated but used by more researchers. Basically, it's what is the best way for your information to be made available. When you're preparing to send donations, of course, contact us so that we know to prepare space and the time to sort. Pack the material well, so if it's loose papers, would be best in envelopes or some other paper wrapping. Make sure that the materials are well packed so that especially books aren't shifting around in the box, because they can tear themselves out of their binding. Especially the heavier books. And while small, say, corner dings will not affect the usability, major damage can affect whether we can keep an item in the library and allow it to be used. When you're ready to ship, again, contact us. That way we can prepare. It makes it easier then to prepare the paperwork on our end to confirm your donation. The paperwork is for tax purposes as you would need it, and also for our records to know what we've received. A note is that ANA cannot appraise your donation. If you are in need of an appraisal before sending, we can help to find either coin dealers or numismatic literature dealers that can help with providing an appraisal. But we, as a nonprofit, cannot provide an appraisal for materials donated to ANA. This briefly for archives, organization will help us to not have to sort, but also to catalog your items, removing sensitive documents, anything business related, and personal documents that are not relevant to numismatics. That will again help us in presenting the information. We can't have materials that would be restricted indefinitely. Labeling clearly, again, helping with cataloging, really anything that you can do to help with an archive in the presentation and the cataloging and our description will help in presenting more quickly. We will provide some paperwork that will allow you to tell us some deeper information as we work to provide provenance information about the archives in addition to the subject information. Would like to acknowledge our many volunteers and the staff. Joe Telefus, who recently joined the library in May, has been doing an excellent job with working with our members and researchers to provide the materials that you're requesting. He does a lot of the work with circulation services and is working with increasing what materials we have in our catalog and doing that very quickly so we're able to provide more in the way of auction catalogs and books. This list of volunteers, many have helped with organizing the materials that come in from donations, also scanning materials. They are the reason that we're able to do so much and provide so much more information than we could with just books and auction catalogs and periodicals. We wouldn't be able to do the digitizing the archives in the way that we are without them. And if you have any questions beyond this presentation, please contact us. Email is best. That's easiest for us to observe and respond well, especially if it's what books would cover this topic. We can also do by phone. We just ask for patience in replying back, but we will work to find the information that you're looking for. QR codes on either side will take you directly to our website.
Hey, thank you so much, Akio, and thank you so much for joining us for this great presentation. Our NumismaTalks are being recorded and will be available on our website once edited. Please be sure to check for future programs on our website at money.org underneath the Education tab.
We're always available. Just let us know if you have questions about the materials or about information gathering generally. We can find what is available here, also help to direct toward other resources if they live outside of the library. And most of the books that are borrowed, again, are shipped. Members are just responsible for shipping and insurance to and from the ANA, and in the case of some items, the cost of the book, either the cost is prohibitive to purchase and shipping is minimal compared to that, or the material may not be available due to low production of that reference.
Great. Looks like we don't have any questions. Thanks all. Thank you everybody for joining.
Thank you for attending, and we hope to help in the future with any research and collecting interests.